I'm Dwayne Brown. Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, do-it-yourself projects inspired by the drought.
See together, I think that you have a great chance of getting it right.
How much people invest in recycling water and why it's not about saving money.
And the fate of James Holmes, the Colorado movie shooter who killed 12 people, is now in the hands of Colorado jurors. I'm Peggy Pico with an in-depth look at Holmes' insanity plea. Then, a preview of San Diego's Pride Parade and Festival this weekend, and why one San Diego City Councilman says there's more to be done for equal rights.
How do you do?
That's what I thought adult life was like. That's the world I wanted to be in.
Mad about Hatter fashion, a local hat maker's race to make sure San Diego heads are dressed to impress. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Hi, good evening. Thanks for joining us. In the crosshairs of California's drought, water-guzzling lawns. Today, the State Water Commission adopted more stringent water rules for new yards. They would essentially eliminate grass from new office and commercial buildings and reduce turf at new homes to a quarter of landscaping. An exception, though, to the rule using recycled water from showers and toilets to water traditional-looking lawns. Local governments must comply or adopt similar rules by the end of the year. Cutting your water use by 12 to 36% is no easy task, so it's not surprising more folks are turning to gray water systems. KPBS North County editor Allison St. John takes a look at the cost of recycling water from inside homes as more cities are running dry.
The Smith family used to do all their laundry once a week, but not anymore.
Now I have to be strategic, so I do it like once every other day.
That's because the Smiths now recycle their laundry water using a grey water system to irrigate their San Marcos backyard.
It's a towel day.
The Smiths' grey water system is so simple, their son Kingston has it down.
There's a tube in the laundry, pushes water through the tube all the way to our backyard, and it goes in a little bucket, and then it goes in the plants.
Kingston's father, Herbie Smith, estimates it costs $250 to $300 to put in the system. He had help from a company called H2O. It involved laying 1.5-inch PVC pipe from the laundry room through the garage.
We followed the wall in the garage and then came out through the wall here.
And out into the backyard, where they've planted 4 new fruit trees.
And so for each basin, we had to dig a space or an area of about 2 feet by 5 feet, so about 10 square feet. That was about 6 to 8 inches deep, and it's full with mulch.
The water has to drain through a layer of mulch. Laundry grey water has too many microorganisms to be used to sprinkle a lawn.
I think the system in itself is very simple to implement. It doesn't require a lot of knowledge. As long as you know how to glue PVC together, I think that you have a great chance of getting it right.
The Smiths family of 4 do about 5 loads of laundry a week, and their older top-loading washing machine uses about 40 gallons of water.
So we're using roughly 200 gallons of water each week. Over the course of a year, it's about over 10,000 gallons of water. You know, that would have otherwise just been put into the sewer system. So now it's going into our landscape and it's being utilized to grow fruits. So I think that's empowering.
Installing a grey water system using the water from your laundry to water your yard could be as simple as a do-it-yourself project. But if you want to recycle water from anywhere else in your home, it becomes a whole lot more complicated.
In Rancho Penasquitos, a new housing development is experimenting with a more ambitious grey water system.
We take residential water efficiency to a whole new level. 2 out of every 3 gallons used in the home can get a new life by being recycled.
Heather McPherson is with Nexus E-Water, which has developed a nationally permitted water treatment system for your home.
So this is the 75-gallon collector that the gray water, the water from your washing machines, bathtubs, and sinks come into. So that water is collected and sent to the next treater in 10-gallon batches. We take soapy water from your house, from your showers, your baths, your washing machine, and we take it through this system, and it comes out where it smells and looks like tap water.
The water goes through 5 different filter systems. McPherson says it would cost about $15,000 to retrofit your home. To build it into a new home cost about $10,000. Steve Ruffner of KB Homes says that's worth it to customers who don't want to risk losing their investment in landscaping during the drought.
These customers, part of our pitch to them is you'll never have to stress about that because you're not using any potable water to water your landscaping is not going to die in a drought.
Ruffner says this is the first development where every house comes standard with a grey water system.
And I think in the next 12 months we're going to really have this down so that we can roll it out very similar to what we did with solar.
Complex grey water systems like this don't pencil out the same way solar does, at least not yet. You can install a less comprehensive system for closer to $1,000, but it would take years to recoup the costs with savings on your water bill. But, say the Smiths, it's not so much about saving money, it's about making the most of a dwindling resource.
So for me, the gray water system wasn't about saving money, it was more about utilizing the water to the fullest extent possible and growing food in the process.
Now I don't feel guilty doing laundry. I do it and I'm excited that it's watering the trees that we will eventually have fruit on.
Alison St. John, KPBS News.
For more on the cost of installing a gray water system, go to kpbs.org. It's one hefty tab for a ride-sharing service. A judge fined Uber $7.3 million today for refusing to hand over information about its business practices to California regulators. The fine was part of a ruling by an administrative law judge at the California Public Utilities Commission. That judge disagreed with Uber, who argued it provided sufficient information to the commission. The San Francisco-based company has other legal fights in Portland and France. North County's League of Women Voters wants the city of Carlsbad to let voters decide whether to build a new open-air mall on the Agua Hacienda Lagoon. The project would move strawberry fields that now line Interstate 5 farther east to make room for a 26-acre outdoor mall anchored by Nordstrom's. The city is currently studying the LA developer's estimate of an extra $2 to $4 million a year in sales tax if the upscale shopping center is built. The political landscape changing in the second largest city in San Diego County. It's an update to a story we first told you about last night. In a unanimous vote, the Chula Vista City Council approved a plan dividing the city into 4 council districts. Voters there approved Proposition B back in 2012. It changes how Chula Vista leaders get elected. From now on, candidates will have to live in the district to get elected, and only residents who live in those districts vote for them. The elections will have 2 phases, with the first phase starting in 2016. This will give them something to cheer about. Governor Brown signed a law today guaranteeing basic employee rights for pro cheerleaders here in California. The measure was authored by San Diego Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez, a former Stanford cheerleader. It designates pro cheerleaders as employees instead of contractors. That makes them eligible for sick leave, overtime, and other labor protections. It's believed to be the first law of its kind in the country. It goes into effect next January. An early morning fire alarm created a flurry of activity at the USS Midway Museum downtown. A spark from a welding torch touched off a 3-alarm fire this morning. Museum workers say a torch ignited insulation, which began smoldering in a compartment under renovation. The fire was midway on the bow, 2 levels below the flight deck, well away from areas open to the public. Damage, by the way, was limited to the single compartment. No injuries were reported. San Diego Fire Department estimates the damage at $5,000. The museum opened on time, though, at 9:30 this morning. A portion of the ship is being renovated to expand the museum's overnight program for children. The fire is not expected to interfere with the construction timeline. A security camera inside the jail cell of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman shows the moment the most powerful drug lord in the world made a run for it. Check this out. Mexican authorities released this video yesterday. Guzman walks back to the shower, stooped behind the wall, and disappeared. The hole in his shower led to this tunnel and his freedom. Right now, on the State Department website, the U.S. is offering a $5 million bounty for El Chapo's arrest. Jury deliberations began today for the Colorado theater shooter James Holmes. Peggy Pico explores the issues around the legal definition of insanity and what happens after the trial for the San Diego native.
The Colorado jurors must determine whether James Holmes, who was legally sane when he opened fire in a Denver movie theater back in 2012, killing 12 people and wounding 70 others. Holmes pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity to the 165 charges, including murder. Joining me are UC San Diego clinical psychiatry professor and forensic psychiatrist Dr. Stephen Ornish and Alex Simpson, associate director of the California Innocence Project and professor at California Western School of Law. And Alex, what are the possible decisions that the jury could make in this case?
So, I mean, in one sense, the jury's decision is fairly simple. They can find that James Holmes is sane and that therefore he is, that they could convict him for the crime, or that they can find that he's insane and therefore he is incapable of being convicted for the crime. So those are really the two decisions that the jury's making right now.
And Dr. Ornish, what is the difference between legally insane and mentally ill?
Well, being mentally ill is a psychiatric diagnosis, and that's a psychiatric issue. Being legally sane or insane is more of a legal issue. So there's no question in this case that he suffers from a very severe mental illness, but the issue at hand is whether or not he meets the legal definition of insanity in the state of Colorado.
No, Alex, both the prosecution and defense agreed that Holmes committed the crime. So in this case, what would be making him legally insane? What would qualify for that?
Yeah, it's a very difficult thing to establish that you are insane under a legal definition of insanity. You really have to establish either the person just really could not understand the difference between right and wrong, or was unable to conform his actions to the law. And so when you're talking about legal insanity, somebody can be profoundly mentally ill but still not fit that very narrow legal definition of insanity.
And each state has their own criteria for that?
That's correct. It depends on the state what particular piece of evidence you'd need to establish that the person's insane. But it's really a very small portion of people.
And what happens if James Holmes is found not guilty by reason of insanity in the legal front? What happens to him then?
At that point, then he would be committed to a mental institution until he is found to be sane, legally sane. But realistically, that means that he would most likely be in a mental institution for the rest of his life.
So not likely to get out, even if he was, quote, became better.
That's correct. It's not a get-out-of-jail-free card.
Yeah, and let me ask you this, Dr. Ornish. So what kind of treatment would James Holmes have if he was convicted and actually landed in jail instead?
Well, in jail, he would still be receiving psychiatric treatment. So, unfortunately, the criminal justice system is one of the largest providers of psychiatric treatment in the country these days. So he'd receive primarily antipsychotic, psychotropic medications. He would receive medical treatment. He would receive visits with psychiatrists periodically. And that would be most likely the nature of his treatment if in jail.
And if he was found sane, though, and he was asked for the death penalty, let me start with you, Dr. Ornish. If it was then sought the death penalty, he's found sane, the jurors then have to decide on, it's decided he's going to face the death penalty. What does that do to the process they're going through right now and trying to decide whether he was legally sane or insane at the time of the crime?
In terms of the death penalty, if he is found sane, then there would be a penalty phase, and clearly his mental illness would be used by the defense as a mitigant to argue that he should not be given the death penalty because through no fault of his own he suffers from this severe mental illness.
Yeah, but Alex, that's kind of a slippery slope, right? If he was found to be sane at the time, are you allowed to execute mentally ill people?
Well, you're certainly not allowed to execute mentally ill people, and that's what the penalty phase would have to go to, at least to a certain extent. Really what you're talking about, if he's found sane, at least for the guilt phase, that he should be convicted for this crime, then really what you're talking about for sentencing is, should we lock this person up for the rest of his life, or should we sentence him to death? And that's a hard decision to make.
Yes, I just want to end on this briefly, though. Is it very common to have people actually be successful in court on a legally insane defense?
It's fewer than 1% of cases actually even raise this defense. Of those, maybe 25% are successful, quote unquote successful about that. So it's a very, very small number of people who are actually found not guilty by reason of insanity.
All right, Alex Simpson and Dr. Stephen Ornish, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Children in the foster care system face unique challenges. Being gay can magnify them. KPBS reporter Matt Bowler tells us about a San Diego group being honored for helping members of the LGBT community.
Children end up in the foster care system for many reasons, and the court appoints people to help them. They're called Court-Appointed Special Advocates, or CASA volunteers. There are more than 900 CASA organizations in the nation. Voices for Children is the first to be honored with the Human Rights Campaign Foundation's All Children, All Families Seal of Recognition. Sharon Lawrence from the Voices for Children says her group works hard to make sure discrimination doesn't follow LGBT children into the foster care system.
In some cases, biological families can shun children who perhaps are gay or bisexual, and so we want to make sure that when they do come into foster care system that doesn't repeat itself.
Assemblywoman Toni Atkins says Voices for Children volunteers walk into challenging situations.
When you're a lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning, you don't know, it adds to the complexity of growing up.
Voices for Children says many judges and foster families are well educated about LGBT issues, but there are some who need more education. Matt Bowler, KPBS News.
Raising pride, the colors of the rainbow rose today at San Diego State. The campus helped kick off San Diego Pride Week with a rainbow flag raising ceremony. Hundreds gathered at the Aztec Student Union flagpole. It's an annual tradition for the last 8 years, celebrating the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender communities.
It was really inspirational. I think it's a monumental time for this movement, and I think this is really going to keep the momentum going on campus.
Other festivities include the Pride Parade in Hillcrest this weekend. Transgender Grand Marshals will host this year's Pride Parade in San Diego. Peggy Pico tells us they have something extra to celebrate this year.
San Diego's 41st annual Pride Parade and Festival takes place this weekend. This year's theme is Liberty and Justice for All, which, among other things, celebrates last month's U.S. Supreme Court ruling in favor of same-sex marriage in all 50 states. The Pentagon also announced they're moving toward removing the military's ban on transgender people serving openly in the military. Stephen Whitburn, Executive Director of San Diego Pride, and San Diego City Councilman Todd Gloria are here with a preview of this weekend's Pride events and what's next for the LGBT community in San Diego. And Stephen, let's talk about the Pride events this weekend and the focus on the transgender community. How's that going to happen?
The transgender community is the Grand Marshal of the San Diego Pride Parade this year, so they'll be up in front of the parade. They face a lot of prejudice, so we want to call attention to that, give them visibility, and call for an end to that prejudice. And you mentioned the transgender people in the military. We're going to have openly transgender people marching with the military contingent this year.
Now, San Diego's Pride Parade was the first to have military in uniform dancing. Marching it. Right, exactly. Yep. So same holds true now. Has that been approved?
It has not been officially approved, but they will be in the parade, and one of them, in fact, is going to be carrying the transgender flag in the color guard.
And Todd, let's talk about this, because there's been quite a few advancements as far as equal rights are for the LGBT community, both in the military and, of course, legally in the courts. But your recent op-ed piece for Gay San Diego, you wrote that more work needs to be done. What do you think are some of the most important next steps?
I think there's a tremendous amount of stuff, and Stephen just hit upon it. You know, our transgender community still suffers a great deal of inequity, and we have to work on that. We're taking some steps here at the local level. There's some work been done at the state level, but so much more must be done. I think that we have to keep in mind the fact that our LGBT youth are more likely to be bullied, experience homelessness, and attempt suicide. That has to be addressed. We know that many of our LGBT seniors are forced back into the the closet in their golden years. There's a lot of work left to be done, but the victories that we are celebrating this weekend are going to be incredible, but it's also a reminder that there's so much more work to do.
And I was going to ask that, how do local pride events, I'll start with you, Todd, how do they actually help the LGBT community here?
Well, I think they draw attention. You know, prides are political marches, really. I mean, they're celebrations and they're fun and everyone should come, but the truth is it's making a strong statement, and pride parades have been the way our community have rallied around things like repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell, ending the Defense of Marriage Act, getting a marriage equality, and now hopefully with this year, some more transgender rights.
And Stephen, this is one of the bigger events. Can you tell us a little bit about how many people come and what sort of things are available to do?
This is one of the biggest events in the city. Last year we had 100,000 people at the parade, 40,000 people at the Pride Music Festival. We think those numbers are going to grow this year because there's so much excitement in the air. We have a rally and a block party on Friday night. We have the parade Saturday morning along with a 5K, and then the Pride Music Festival in Balboa Park both Saturday and Sunday.
And who can come? Who should come and join in all this fun?
Everybody is invited. Everybody is welcome. Not only the LGBT community, but our straight allies. Because as hard as the LGBT community has worked for the advances we've made, we would not have been able to do it without all of our allies. And this is a celebration for everybody who believes in equality.
And Todd, it sounds like San Diego has been sort of a forerunner as far as politically advancing this.
Yeah, I think San Diego can be very proud of the role that we've played in advancing LGBT equality, human dignity ordinance in the 1990s. We famously went on the record in support of marriage equality long before it was popular, and we continue to push the edge with things like banning gender expression and gender identity discrimination in city contracting. We're moving forward with gender-neutral bathrooms. There's a lot of work that we have done here locally, and that's the reason why San Diego should rejoice in the progress that we've made and come out and celebrate this weekend with Stephen and I.
And how would you say that this momentum, how would you like to see this weekend's festival continue, and just what you were talking about? Does it build momentum, do you think?
It does, and I think the message really is that this is not mission accomplished. There's a lot of work that's left to be done, so we will celebrate this weekend, but on Monday we're going to resume the work of pushing forward for full equality, and as Stephen says, not just for ourselves, but for all of our community. When any part of our community is discriminated against, we all suffer.
All right, well, we've got more information on San Diego Pride events on our website, kpbs.org. Stephen Whitbird and Todd Gloria, thank you so much.
Thank you.
A whole new world revealed by NASA's New Horizons spacecraft. Scientists released the first up-close images ever of Pluto, this after a historic flyby we showed you yesterday. The photos show an icy range about as high as the Rockies. The images were collected as New Horizons swept within 7,700 miles of Pluto, Pluto's first visitor as far as we know in its 4 billion-year existence. As fashions change, some trends are left to history while others enjoy resurgence. With the start of the Del Mar horse racing season tomorrow, local hat maker Jill Courtemanche is on track to make sure her headdresses are head turners. KPBS's Maya Trabolsi has her story.
Neatly tucked in Solana Beach, the studio tells a story.
Often we'll use 2 to 3 layers in order to create the stiffness for the hat.
Of an artist determined to keep the art of millinery alive. She is focused.
Getting this cord line at the edge of the brim as tight as possible.
Until a familiar form takes shape.
And then this will be attached to here.
Sometimes she gets lucky and finds treasures long forgotten, like these woven straws from Ecuador.
It's hard to imagine that these hats had been sitting in someone's garage for 10 years.
The finer the weave, the lighter the hat. The tightest weave of all is a Monte Cristi, which can cost up to $2,000. At an early age, Jill explored her grandmother's closet, learning to distinguish quality in luxurious materials.
How do you do?
Together they would watch musicals like My Fair Lady, Gigi, and An American in Paris.
That's what I thought adult life was like. That's the world I wanted to be in.
She went to the Fashion Institute in New York and went on to study under influential milliners who taught her age-old techniques passed down through decades of hat making.
We could do the cream. I could change the flowers on this to match. There used to be a milliner on every street corner. Certainly in major cities. It was as ubiquitous as nail salons and pizza parlors are today.
Now she follows racing seasons around the world.
It's like 4th of July happens, then they're like, oh, next thing is opening day at Del Mar. And we are literally here all night long the night before, and customers come and pick up their hats as they drive down the street to the racetrack.
It's not the fedoras or even the fascinators that put Jill on the map. It was a little number a lot like this.
One of my good friends called me and said, "You have to look on the Huffington Post. I think Princess Mary of Denmark is wearing one of your hats."
She was indeed.
I've been asked to make this hat hundreds and hundreds of times.
Which is exactly what she does with one of these hat blocks. Like a photographic negative, this wooden mold is used to reproduce hats over and over again.
This one apparently was $5 used, but they can cost up to $1,000 or more. It just depends on how intricate the detailing is.
Today, there are only a few time-honored custom block shapers, or formiers, left in the world. Jill has been waiting for a newly sculpted block from a workshop in Paris for over 8 months.
And it is just about to arrive any day now. It was incredibly expensive, and I'm so excited. It's like the best Christmas present ever. I can't wait to open the box. We can change this. We can add flowers if you want.
I can see with the flowers.
Well, you've heard of Christmas in July.
That's the block.
Père Noël delivered with impeccable timing.
And you can see, oh, it's gorgeous. Look at how beautiful that is.
For Jill, the ordinary begets the extraordinary.
Stamped, it's signed, it's a piece of art.
Maya Trabulsi.
It's gorgeous.
KPBS News.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.